Hello and welcome to Tech is for Everyone, the podcast series that deep dives into tech professionals' journeys using their experience to get you the best hints and tips to break into the world of tech. Just starting your career or looking to sidestep into a new industry or wanting to climb through the ranks, tune in and get ready to be inspired. Tune in to Season 2, Episode 1 of Tech is for Everyone, where I'm joined by Christina Lovelock, author of Careers in Tech, Data and Digital and Business Analysis Leader at Herd Consulting. Tina and I discuss more details around her book and how she hopes to inspire the next generation of tech superstars. We explore some of the myths about working in tech, a discussion around visual communication, and plenty of advice for those looking to start out. Well, thank you for coming in. Series 2 of Tech is for Everyone. So Christina, you're Director of Community at Herd and an experienced business analyst and author of the book, now let me get this right, Careers in Tech, Data, Digital, Education to Employment.
That's right.
Which you very kindly welcomed me to to be interviewed for that as well. So yeah, welcome to the podcast. I'm going to start with the same question that I ask everyone, which is, what does technology mean to you?
Well, I'm going to start that with what it doesn't mean to me, and it doesn't mean gadgets and computers and writing code. So for me, technology is a much bigger concept, which is about innovation and efficiency and improvement. And as part of my master's degree recently, I did some research into the phrase digital skills and what that means to different people. And what I found is that people who are typically kind of more HR and recruitment type roles see digital skills as kind of very specific skills. So like SQL skills or Python, that's what they would think of as digital skills. But people who are in digital leadership roles talk about it much broader, and they talk about digital skills, including things like being able to collaborate, visual thinking, teamwork. So I think we need to move towards that more broader understanding of what's meant by digital skills and how they underpin how we interact with technology, and that also that technology is this much broader thing, that it's not just systems and hardware.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's the softer skills and transferable skills are very much sort of, I mean, in a lot of circumstances now within tech, sort of almost more important. Did you always want to work in technology?
I never meant to work in technology. I did study science. I studied physics, and when I graduated, I knew that I wanted to do something in the public sector. So I was looking at different public sector roles. I wasn't particularly looking at tech roles. But my first job was in an IT department, and it was it was a really broad role. So I was doing things from helping on the support desk, answering support calls, migrating data, cleaning data, training people on new systems, testing. So it was a really good entry role into tech because I got to see so many different aspects of technology.
Yeah.
But it actually took me a long time to be able to say that I worked in tech, because I kind of felt that I wasn't technical enough.
Right, okay.
And that to say you work in tech, you had to be in a kind of really techie role like a software engineer. And I think a lot of people who are not in the most technical of tech roles do struggle to say that they work in technology.
Yeah, it's, I guess, I mean, probably part of the reason for the book as well is to raise that awareness, isn't it? That, you can work in tech and never touch a line of code in your full career.
Yeah.
It's a common misconception, isn't it? That, code is tech is code.
Absolutely.
Type stuff. So what's the one thing about your role that you didn't expect?
So about my whole career in tech, I suppose, I didn't expect it to give me the opportunities which it has, which are things like to travel and make friends all over the world, to speak at international conferences, to write articles and books.
Yeah.
None of those things are really associated with when you think tech career.
Yeah.
But all of those things are absolutely possible, and tech careers do offer so many different opportunities. One of the things that I do is I'm involved in the endpoint assessment of digital apprentices. I'm really enthusiastic about tech professionals of the future, as I know you are.
Yeah.
So I think when you start out a career in tech, you think, okay, well, I'm doing this thing and I'm just going to keep doing that. But actually, if you look around you, there are so many opportunities to get involved in different and interesting things and help other people and support the industry.
Yeah, I know that you've sort of been involved with some of the events from the wider Qualcomm group as well. So there's always that, and networking and lots of further opportunities that aren't just sat behind your desk, I guess, doing your day job.
Yeah, and I think tech does have a really strong community. If you want to be involved in it, there's loads of events that you can get involved in. I think the word networking puts a lot of people off. I don't think it's a great word. It's not something that really appeals to me.
Yeah.
But I have kind of really reframed those kind of events as learning opportunities.
Yeah.
Because you do always learn things, you always meet interesting people, have interesting conversations. Whereas networking sounds like we're there to sell each other things, which is not the case. We're just there to learn and be inspired.
Yeah, I do say that often to people that, if you go to said networking event, you don't have to go and meet a million people. You can go and talk to one person. And actually, if you just take one thing away from the event that you didn't know before, then it's worthwhile putting yourself out there and going to. But yeah, I do understand what you mean about the sort of phrase networking putting some people off.
Yeah.
So the book talks about common myths in technology. Talk to me about those.
So one of my kind of catchphrases, I suppose, around the book is that not every job in tech is technical. And that is what young people definitely believe. They think that a career in tech really just means software developer, software engineer.
Yeah.
It's the only role they've heard of. So that is a big myth that, if I work in tech, I have to learn how to write code. And I think that is reinforced by a lot of the initiatives that are aimed at getting more young people into tech, focus on things like coding boot camps getting more people to think about computer science. We don't really shine enough light on all of the other roles in tech, which are about creativity and curiosity and collaboration, which might open up a wider group of people to consider a career in tech.
Yeah.
A lot of young people think that working in tech means working for one of the big tech firms like Google or Apple.
Yeah.
And they really don't understand that every brand that you can think of has a tech team and they need tech and digital skills. So whatever it is that you're interested in, whether that's charities, education, healthcare, there is a technology aspect to that. So working in tech doesn't just mean that you're trying to work for one of the tech firms. And that's something that a lot of young people don't understand. I think there's also a lot of worry about what a tech career looks like from the outset, the lack of diversity from the outside, and people not really being aware of the different initiatives that are underway to try and increase the diversity of tech in terms of social mobility, in terms of gender balance. And I spoke to some young girls that were saying, well, everyone keeps telling us that not many women work in tech. There's probably a good reason for that. And just kind of working through with them what their fears and worries and how it looks from the outside.
Yeah, and I guess the important thing is trying to affect that. I coach my son's football team, so I refer to it as grassroots, which is a kind of an FA football term, but it's almost the same thing. It's getting in at sort of grassroots level and raising awareness at a very young age, so that by the time you get to sort of GCSE decision sort of age, that you're thinking, well, actually, I could go down that route.
Absolutely.
And like you say, it doesn't have to be a coding necessarily.
It doesn't have to be coding, doesn't have to be working for a big tech firm. There is a lot more diversity, there's a lot more community within tech, and those things aren't known outside of the tech community.
Yeah, I think a lot of businesses now as well, if you look at the legal sector or the finance sector, rather than traditionally being a law firm, you've got businesses now that are tech companies who do law, if that makes sense. They're sort of tech first. They work in the legal sector, and yes, they might have a bank of solicitors, but actually technology is driving the business, which, like you say, when you're not a Google or an Apple or a Samsung or whoever, might not be as clear.
No, and we know that younger people are really looking for roles that give them a sense of purpose. They want to make a positive contribution to the world with the time that they spend working. And I think tech really gives them the opportunity to do that, because if you're interested in charities, if you're interested in sustainability, lots of different ways that tech could help humans in future and help where we're going. There's loads of roles in tech that are actually going to contribute really positively to those things. So it's kind of explaining to young people that they can make a really positive contribution through a tech career as well. Yeah.
So you're in the world of sort of business analysis. If you weren't doing that, what sort of other tech role would you like to try?
Well, I have done a lot of different tech roles, as I mentioned. I've been involved in testing, training. I have even written code, project and program management. But there's a role which is, I think, going to be increasingly important for people with a tech skill set, and that's working as a board advisor or a non-exec director. Because a lot of particularly smaller organisations and particularly non-profits cannot afford big IT departments, they don't have a CIO or a CTO. So they're looking for advice from experienced tech professionals that can help them shape their tech strategy and how to leverage technology for what they're trying to achieve as an organisation. So I think that's going to become increasingly important, that people with those tech skills are prepared to work with smaller organisations to share that knowledge. And that's something that I'd really like to get involved in, helping the kind of shape the tech, data and digital strategies for smaller organisations.
Yeah. So the book you've written talks about emerging technologies and how that will impact, I guess, the future of the tech job market. Can you talk to me a little bit more about that?
So I think there's no denying that things like AI are going to be massive disruptors in the tech job market, and how lots of people in tech do their roles and how they're supported to do those roles, and the types and numbers of different roles that we'll need in organisations. I think that technology is advancing at such a pace that whenever we try and second guess it, so there was the idea that we might need a new job called prompt engineers. Well, it's clear that's not going to be the case now, because the technology itself is getting so much better. It's not going to be a specific role for people who interact with AI. Loads of different roles are going to have to interact with AI. We're not going to be able to park someone in the corner and say, right, you're the prompt engineer, you be in charge of the AI.
Yeah.
It's not going to work like that. But it might be that new roles emerge. And I think particularly around sustainability and green tech, the amount of data that we're storing and processing is growing exponentially. So we're going to need a lot more focus on how that can become more sustainable, because what we're doing at the moment, the perception that things are stored in the cloud and that has no impact on the environment, I think that's going to become a lot more focus of a lot of organisations. They're going to start taking that a lot more seriously. So the way that technology evolves, I think, will continue to influence the types of jobs and the number of different jobs that we need. We're already seeing things like developers and testers being able to automate a lot of their roles, and therefore saying, okay, well, what's going to be a good use of my time? It's not just going to free me up. Organisations aren't necessarily going to reduce the number of people in those roles, but what other kind of value-adding activities can they do for their organisation and their customers?
Yeah, and sort of using AI to become almost more efficient rather than replace.
Yeah.
It's an enabler.
Absolutely. And time to innovate, which is so difficult when you're trying to maintain a quite complicated tech landscape within an organisation. Actually freeing up some time to think, how could we be doing this better, rather than how can we just keep all the lights switched on? I think it's going to be a real bonus for a lot of organisations.
The green tech landscape is growing, at an exponential rate. And I mean, I'm no like cryptocurrency expert and things like that, but I have read some articles about actually the amount of energy that's used to power these servers that run crypto, and it's frightening. It really is. So there has to be ways to become more efficient if that's going to be the currency of the future. You can't do that at the cost of burning through more energy than the rate of knots.
Yeah, and I think it's a bit like the same argument we had with recycling a few years ago. Like, well, is there any point me recycling my bottles and glasses at home when it's big companies that are polluting the environment? We could say the same here. Well, it's big data centres that are using all of the energy. So what's the point of me deleting a few photos off the phone? It's like, well, okay, well, if everybody did that, if all of us were a bit more responsible with the things that we store and how we store it and what we transmit, I think we can make a big difference.
Yeah. So what's the most important lesson that you've learned throughout your career?
I think for me, it's been a focus on continually learning. And in the tech world, none of us are ever finished. You never get to the point where you kind of think, yep, that's it, I've learned everything that I need to know as a tech professional, because the landscape is changing, the technology itself is changing, new roles are emerging, new relationships need to be built. So once we know that things aren't going to stand still, we can admit that we can't stand still and that we need to invest in that learning for ourselves. But as part of that, for me, it's been about passing on some of the knowledge that I have gained, and some of it has been hard won, and some of it, I've faced different challenges, technical challenges and personal challenges, and thinking, well, what can I do to make things a little bit easier for other people, help people enter the tech workforce, help people progress in their career. So sharing my knowledge has become more and more important to me as well.
Yeah, so learning from your battle scars, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. And making things more efficient, making it so that organisations aren't starting with a blank sheet of paper if another organisation has done the same thing and overcome the same challenges. Even what you might consider to be competitors are able to collaborate quite effectively in technology in a lot of ways. So I think that's really heartening.
Your book also talks about the traits of someone, or what someone would need to carve a career in technology. Could you sort of share your views on what you mean by that?
So I did a lot of interviews with you, as you mentioned, and lots of really interesting tech professionals as well. And the things that they kept coming back to was communication skills. It doesn't matter how well you can do the thing that you know how to do, whether that's testing, project management, writing code, being a business analyst. If you can't communicate your ideas, if you can't get on with stakeholders and customers and build relationships within your team, then you are not going to progress in your career. And that's something that particularly the senior leaders that I spoke to had really kind of invested their skills, realizing that these aren't just traits and you're either born with them or you're not, that you can invest your time and get better at things like delivering presentations, negotiation, teamwork. These are all skills that we can all learn and get better at. And so that was really interesting to hear from even from the most technical people in very technical roles. The thing that they felt had been most valuable in their career was the investment in their communication skills.
Yeah, I think with that, it's not necessarily you ever the most perfect communicator, but it is practice makes perfect. It's the same with like public speaking or anything like that. The first time you do it, it's really, really nerve-wracking. You hopefully can do it to a smaller group of people, and then next time you'll be less nervous. You might be able to do it to a room of 30 people rather than 10, and et cetera, et cetera. So, it's definitely a skill that can be self-taught. You just obviously have to, I guess, take that step to put yourself out there, which is almost the scariest part.
It is, and the ability to reflect as well and think, well, what are my skills and areas of strength, and what are the areas that I want to develop? And we have to take a step back from our day-to-day activities to create time to think about where we need to improve and where we want to improve. And then thinking about, well, how I'm actually going to develop. Is there somebody that I see as a bit of a role model in that space? What do they do? How did they get to where they are? Or is it going on a training course or reading a book? Building in that time to think about where we are and how we want to develop is really important. And sometimes, well, a lot of careers, but particularly tech careers, don't leave much space for thinking and reflecting. So I think that's a really important thing as well.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. And I think longer term as well, if you think about, if we use public speaking as an example, if in 3 years' time you have put yourself out there and you are delivering that keynote to 500 people, it's really important to look backwards, like you say, and reflect on actually how far you may have come during that period of time. And as nervous as you might still be at that point, it's a lot further than where you were before. Are there any tools that are kind of indispensable to the job that you do now?
So there's two tools that I use quite a lot because I'm really trying to improve my visual communications. So I'm using Canva a lot more, and I'm using some software called SketchWow, which is about kind of hand-drawn looking graphics and making things more visually engaging, because I've had a 20-year career of making a lot of presentations in PowerPoint. I've done a lot of bullet points in my time, and I just feel like we're at a place now where communication needs to be more than that, and that we need to really put the time in to make engaging visuals. So those are two tools that I'm trying to learn more for lots of different areas of the work that I do. It was really important to me that the book was illustrated. It was illustrated by Grant Wright, who is a business analyst but also a visual thinker, because diagrams and visuals are so important. We remember it so much better, and we can communicate so much more than expecting people to read all of our bullet points. So that kind of more visual way of working is really important to me.
Yeah. I think it's about getting the balance of both, rather than having sort of 30 bullet points on a slide, being able to get sort of the right balance between, right, okay, well, I only need 10 bullet points and then the rest can be sort of graphically pleasing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the tools make it a lot easier for now for people with essentially no graphic design skills to be able to make things that do look quite good and quite professional. So it doesn't take much effort to do that, but I think we all do need to make that a little bit more effort than we might have done in the past.
Working in tech, and we're a tech business now, but I started out in my degree that I didn't finish. Actually, I did a year or so, and then left was in art. So Canva really sort of appeals to that, and but I definitely let Chantal and the marketing team sort of take that over because they're much better at it than I am, and it'd take me far longer. But Canva is great.
Yeah.
To be fair, it is really good. So what's the one piece of advice? I know you've probably got plenty of pieces of advice because I've read through the book as well, but if you had to sort of just give one piece of advice to someone sort of thinking about starting a career in tech, what would it be?
I think I would say that a career in tech is not what you think it is, because it's not how the media portrays it, and all of those myths and misconceptions that we talked about at the beginning, those exist for a reason. So if you're thinking about a career in tech, talk to people who work in tech and understand what their career trajectories have been, what did they study at university, because chances are they didn't study computer science. Most people, only about 9% of the tech workforce has a computer science or IT related degree. So most people did something else.
Yeah.
So it doesn't rule you out if you haven't done computer science A level, if you haven't or don't want to do it at degree level, or you've been working in another job for a number of years. None of those things stop you from getting into tech. So I would say realise that a tech career is not what you think it is, and then set about trying to find out what it actually is. And the best way to do that is to talk to people, to go to events, to find out about different roles. And LinkedIn is absolutely brilliant for talking to people who are in all kinds of roles. What organisations are they following? What kind of content are they posting? What events are they going to? That gives you a real insight into a role that you think, oh, that sounds quite interesting. Gives you an insight into what that kind of role would look like from seeing what people in that role are actually up to.
Yeah, that's great advice. And finally, what's the one question that you wished that I'd have asked you, and how would you have answered?
So I'm really passionate about the future tech workforce, as I know you are. So I suppose the question would be, how can existing tech, digital and data professionals, how can they invest in that future talent pipeline? And the answer I would give is that there's lots of ways, from little things, from when someone asks you what you do, don't just say I work in tech and walk away. Elaborate, tell them your job title, tell them some of the other roles that you've done, and tell them what that role involves. I think we're very reluctant. We think people don't want to hear about what a tech role looks like and what it involves, but I think we are doing the whole profession a disservice by shying away from those conversations. So tell people what you do and tell them what you really do, not just your job title.
Yeah.
Talk to more people, and if that means going out to a school once a year or universities and colleges and just talk about your career. You don't have to really prepare that much because you know your story, and you can probably tell it really compellingly. People are always really interested to understand where you started and where you are now and how you got there. So be prepared to talk, particularly to young people, about your journey and what you like about working in tech and what some of the challenges are. So I think if we can all make a commitment to being a bit more honest and open about tech careers, then we really can encourage a lot more people to consider tech careers, and we'll be addressing some of our talent pipeline issues.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'll do a sort of a shameless plug here to a head partnership, if you know them.
I do.
We do quite a bit of work ourselves with the heads to, like we said earlier, sort of try and get it at that grassroots level, going in and speaking to children in sort of year 8 and 9, you know, ahead of GCSE, and then years sort of 10 and 11. So, you know, sort of GCSE, preparing for A level, locally to, you know, sort of the Leeds and Yorkshire area. But I agree, yeah, you know, sort of just giving up that sort of couple of hours to go and raise the awareness and speak about it is vital.
And they do a lot of things like careers panels as well. So it's not high stress. It's not, you know, standing on a stage in front of 500 people in an assembly on your own. It's small groups. It's talking about your role. They're always really appreciative. The children always blow me away with how curious they are, the questions that they asked. I was involved in Head Partnerships Girl Tech Leads last year, and it was an absolutely phenomenal event, and we need more of it, and we need more tech professionals to be talking about tech and supporting those kinds of events.
Yeah, no, great. Well, I really appreciate you coming in and coming to see me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to Tech is for Everyone. If you're looking to start your career in tech or want to know more about how our academy can help grow and diversify your teams, then find us on LinkedIn, Instagram, or via the Qualcomm Tech Academy website. Links can be found in the description. Look forward to having you join us on the next episode.